Assalamualaikum and good day to each and everyone. So my presentation is all about crafting a communication plan. So before we start the discussion, let us first define what is communication. So according to Davis and Filey, communication is that phase of the managerial process that transmits idea from one person to another for use in the performance of management actions. Also, communication is the process of transmitting ideas and information from one place to another. It is a process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, feelings, and emotions through speech, signals, writings, or behavior. When we say transmitting of ideas and information, there is a channel used on how you transmit ideas from one place to another, such as posters, community outreach, and so on. And when we talk about exchanging information, there should also be a sender and a receiver. How will you communicate with someone? Is it through verbal or non-verbal? However, in a communication process, you have to consider the barriers that will occur along the way. In addition, developing a communication plan can help focus your message and reach your target audience. A plan can also influence the efficiency and simplicity of your communication methods. So now let's proceed to the importance of communication plan. A communication plan is a policy-driven approach to provide stakeholders with information. The plan formally defines who should be given information, when that information should be delivered, and what communication channels will be used to deliver the information. A communication plan is critical to the implementation of a strategic plan. Regardless of the size of the organization, its geography, or industry. For strategic plans to be effectively implemented, they rely upon the input and commitment of a wide range of individuals who need to be involved and informed in the process from its earliest stages to the generation of results. So, when should you develop a communication plan? So accordingly, as soon as your organization begins planning its objectives and activities, you should also start planning ways to communicate them. Successful communication is an ongoing process, not a one-time event. So basically, communication plan is useful at all points in your organization's development. It can help get the word out about the new organization, renew interest in a long-standing program, or help attract new funding resources. So let us finally discuss the main topic of my report, which is crafting a communication plan. So in crafting a communication plan has 8 steps. It includes identify the purpose of your communication, identify your audience, plan and design your message, consider your resources, plan for obstacles and emergencies, strategize how you will connect with the media and others who can help you spread your message, create an action plan, and lastly, decide how you will evaluate your plan and adjust it based on the results or carrying it out or simply the evaluation. So, first, let's dig deeper to the identify your purpose, which is the step 1. What you might want to say depends on what you're trying to accomplish with your communication strategy. You might be concerned with one or a combination of the following, which are the becoming known or better known in the community, educating the public about the issue your organization addresses, recruiting program participants or beneficiaries, recruiting volunteers to help with your work, rallying supporters or the general public to action for your cause, announcing events, celebrating honors or victories, and raising money to fund your work, and many more. In identifying your audience, which is the second step, there are many different ways to think about your audience and the best ways to contact them. First, There's the question of what group or groups you'll focus on. You can group people according to several characteristics in terms of demography, geography, employment, health, behavior, and attitude. In demographics are simply basic statistical information about people such as gender, age, ethnic and racial background, income, etc. In geography, you might want to focus on a whole town or region, on one or more neighborhoods, or on people who live near a particular geographic or man-made feature. In employment, you may be interested in people in a particular line of work or in unemployed people. In health, your concern might be with people at risk for or experiencing a particular health condition such as high blood pressure perhaps or diabetes, or you might be leveling a health promotion effort, eat healthy, exercise regularly at the whole community. In behavior, you may be targeting your message to smokers, for example, or to youth engaged in violence. In attitudes, are you trying to change people's minds or bring them to the next level of understanding? Another aspect of the audience to consider is whether you should direct your communication to those whose behavior, knowledge, or condition you hope to affect, or whether your communication needs to be indirect. Sometimes, to influence a population, you have to aim your message at those to whom they listen, clergy, community leaders, politicians, etc. The third step is the message. When creating your message, consider content, mood, language, and design. In content, for example, in the course of a national adult literacy campaign in the 1980s, educators learned that TV advertisements that profiled proud, excited, successful adult learners attracted new learners to literacy programs. Advertisements that described the difficulties of adults with poor reading, writing, and math skills attracted potential volunteers. Both advertisements were designed to make the same points: the importance of basic skills and the need for literacy efforts, but they spoke to different groups. In content, you should craft your message with your audience in mind. Planning the content of your message is necessary to make it effective. In mood, consider what emotions you want to appeal. The mood of your message will do a good deal to determine how people react to it. In general, if the mood is too extreme, too negative, too frightening, trying to make your audience feel too guilty, people will not pay much attention to it. It may take some experience to learn how to strike the right balance. Keeping your tone positive will usually reach more people than evoking negative feelings such as fear or anger. So in language, there are two aspects to language here. One is the actual language, such as English, Spanish, Korean, Arabic, that your intended audience speaks. The other is the style of language you use, formal or informal, simple or complex, referring to popular figures and ideas. You can address the language people speak by presenting any printed material in both the official language and the languages of the populations you're hoping to reach, and by providing translation for spoken or broadcast messages. The second language issue is more complicated. If your message is too informal, your audience might feel you're talking down to them, or worse, that you're making an insincere attempt to get close to them by communicating in a way that's clearly not formal for you. On the other hand, if your message is too formal, your message might feel you're not really talking to them at all. You should you should use plain, straightforward language that expresses what you want to say simply and clearly. In design or channels of communication, what does your intended audience read, listen to, watch, or engage in? You have to reach them by placing your message where they will see it, such as posters, flyers, and brochures. These can be more compelling in places where the issue is already in people's minds, doctors' offices or for health issues, supermarkets or for nutrition, etc. Another is newsletters and many more. So let's proceed to resources, which is the first step of the crafting a communication plan. In resources, do you have enough resources to use? Do you have the people to make it possible? If you're going to spend money, what are the chances that the results will be worth the expense? Who will lose what? And who will gain what? Who will gain what by your use of financial and human resources? Your plan should include careful determination of how much you can spend and how much staff and volunteer time it's reasonable to use. You may also be able to share materials, airtime, and other goods and services with individuals, businesses, and other organizations and institutions. The next step is anticipate obstacles and emergencies. Any number of things can happen in the course of a communication effort. Someone can forget to email a press release or forget to include a phone number or email address. A crucial word on your posters or in your brochure can be misspelled, or a reporter might get important information wrong. Or worse, you might have to deal with a real disaster involving the organization that has the potential to discredit everything you do. It's important to try to anticipate these kinds of problems and to create a plan to deal with them. Crisis planning should be part of any communication plan, so you will know what to do when a problem or crisis occurs. Crisis plans should include who takes responsibility for what, dealing with the media, correcting errors, deciding when something has to be redone rather than fixed. It should also cover as many situations and as many aspects of each situation as possible. So let's proceed to strategize how you'll connect with the media and others to spread your message. Establishing relationships with individual media representatives and media outlets is an essential part of a communication plan, as is establishing relationships with influential individuals and institutions in the community and the population you're trying to reach. You have to make personal contacts, give the media and others reasons to want to help you, and follow through to sustain those relationships to keep communication channels open. The individuals that can help you spread your message can vary from formal community leaders such as elected officials, CEOs of prominent local businesses, clergy, etc., to community activists and ordinary citizens. Institutions and organizations such as colleges, hospitals, service clubs, faith communities, and other health and community organizations all have access to groups of community members who might need to hear your message. So, the next step is create an action plan. In here, now the task is to put it all together into a plan that you can act on. By the time you reach this point, your plan is already done for the most part. You know what your purpose is and whom you need to reach to accomplish it, what your message should contain and look like, what you can afford, what problems you might face, what channels can best be used to reach your intended audience, and how to gain access to those channels. Now it's just a matter of putting the details together, composing and designing your message or messages if you're using multiple channels, making contact with the people who can help you, and getting everything in place to start your communication effort. So lastly, the evaluation. If you evaluate your communication plan in terms of both how well you carry it out and how well it works, you'll be able to make changes to improve it. It will keep getting more effective each time you implement it. In evaluation, you will realize how the effectiveness of your communication plan. In this step, you will know if the plan is successful or not, and what things should need adjustments for the next implementation of a plan, and how you will address them to finally succeed your plan in the future. And that's all for my report. Thank you for listening. Wasalam.